Alright, hey, good afternoon, guys. Decided to do another roast. Let me go get it real quick. Alright, so this time around, decided to do another natural. It's a Bali organic, so it's the Kintamani. On the pictures, like it kind of showed them to be a little bit yellow than usual. But if we want to take a look at the just regular green beans right now, check that out. Yeah, I mean it's a little bit yellower in color compared to other normal green beans, but that's pretty much like probably the only difference in actual look. Afterwards, like when you start roasting it, it's basically brown. But it's actually a pretty nice coffee. I kind of tend to do a lot lighter to medium roasts. Like I said, it's a natural, so they don't really wash the coffee. It's mostly they kind of dry it out on patios and let the sun kind of evenly like dry it out as they rake it. And they kind of put them on like drying beds. I mean, elevation 1300 to 1700 meters. Oh yeah, so it's also another bourbon Typica type of coffee. Usually in Indonesia, Bali, it's either like a Robusta, kind of like Timor or Katimor blend. So they usually have much like bolder coffees, but I tend to just kind of go with like sweeter, more classic style flavor of coffee. Yeah, so it kind of has like that Indonesian like, style of flavor. I don't really know how to describe it, but if you ever had like a Bali Blue Moon, pretty much that kind of flavor profile, but a touch sweeter and more fruitier than what you're used to. But then again, a lot of Bali style of coffees, they like to roast it a lot darker. Whereas here, when I put it in the popcorn popper, usually roast it around like 11 minutes, and then that gives like a pretty nice even, well, mostly even medium light roast. This is kind of more of a medium. That's just because as you go a lighter roast, it's a lot harder to get a even roast. So I just tend to like put it in a little bit longer just to even out the whole roast, even though it tends to be a little bit darker than what you'd like. However, it still makes a pretty nice cup of coffee. Alright, so let's just get to brewing then. Generally for a lot of coffees I like to usually just like a good guide on like ratios in general. I would say 1:16 just to start out, like, you know, the usual that most people like to use, and then kind of just change your recipe from there. But at least for me in general, I like to do a little bit lighter on the ratio, so I tend to do like a little bit higher, so maybe like a 1:18 to 1:19. I'm just using 13 grams per 250 milliliters, so just go ahead and measure that out. Yeah, so right here, this is just the, what is it, the Hario Slim. It's a nice grinder. It's a pretty good hand grinder. Generally, what I would use, what's been my grinder for the longest time is just like this Hario mill grinder with like the wooden box. It's nice, but over time, like when you grind a lot of coffee, burrs wear down. Also, the wood, it absorbs a lot of the oils from past coffee, so if you don't really treat the wood correctly, you're gonna get a lot of kind of past coffee flavor. So it can be a little bit more, I guess, oily, but that's it. I mean, this one's pretty easy. Everything's all plastic. The burr's still pretty new, so it's nice. Let me go heat up some coffee or some water. Those who don't know the coffee grind, tends to take a long time, just in general, but you know, it's just in part of the nature of it. If you don't have like a nice step grinder that you can like change pretty finely, hand grinder is always pretty consistent, and then it's just like a nice good step up from using blade grinders, which you should never really use anyways. Um, just in general, blade grinders are bad because it's basically like a blender, but you don't get the consistency of what a mill would do, and then or a ceramic burr, and then it also heats up the coffee beans too, so you're kind of burning it in the process. All right, that's looking pretty nice. Take a smell of the coffee. I mean, very fruity. A lot of the kind of taste descriptors that they like to use from Coffee Bean Corral, like strawberry, watermelon, papaya, and then like cane sugar. Pretty fancy, but for me, at least for the roast that I made, maybe the strawberries come out. I know it's a pretty fruity coffee, and definitely brown sugar, but that's the only thing that I can really make out. Tend to get a lot of the same kind of opinions from my family. Tend to be fruity, but can't really point out the fruit, and then it's like caramelly flavor, so it makes sense. Before you do anything, I like to kind of wet the filter with the hot water, kind of warm up the brewer, and then warms up the cup at the same time, and then pour in the coffee, let it bloom for maybe around like 30-45 seconds, and then wait there. Or I'll just start pouring in more water up to like maybe, I don't know, 70% of kind of the brew volume or brew weight. So bring it around to like maybe 170, 180, try to be there, and then bring it up to around like 250. After around 250, I would wait for the drawdown, yeah. And after that, just kind of swirl the cups a little bit. A lot of people like to use spoons. I like to use spoons every now and then just to like swirl in the mix, but when I want to cheat and get like a really flat bed, I just like shake it up and then cheat a little bit so it looks nice at the end. But I mean, I wouldn't say it makes too much of a difference in the taste of the coffee, at least for now, since I'm still getting used to like all the different flavors and trying to pick out like the difference and then like the small nuances between different coffees. But yeah, overall it's a pretty nice cup. I'm just waiting for it to cool down right now. Yeah, that's actually really nice. That's all I can really say. I guess if you really think about it, you kind of get like those like strawberry, watermelon notes, I guess. It has like a nice acidity. Other than that, you get sort of like the bitter, like brown sugar notes at the end. But I'd say overall, lighter roast, especially for bourbons and or bourbon and typicas, tend to be pretty nice. But it's also just your preference, right? If you like dark coffee, at least in my experience, I like to taste the sort of like origin characteristics of the coffee. So even though it's a little bit more acidic and a little bit of like a lighter mouthfeel, in general, I like those flavors because they really pop out to me. So it's a pretty nice cup. Yeah, so that's been the Bali Organic Kintamani. Pretty nice. I enjoyed roasting it. I enjoyed brewing the cup. Had a good time. Thanks for watching.